Hey, I'm early for once. Why not, And I'm still drinking coffee. It's a little late for coffee. I probably shouldn't be drinking coffee. 7 p.m. Whatever. Sunday Live, number 176. What's up, good people? Thanks for working with me on this one this week and joining late. I know there's probably nobody in Europe watching, unless they get up really early. But maybe we got some folks in Japan and Australia. Who knows? It's going to be a different adventure. Hi from Nova Scotia. That's Todd. Who else we got here? We got Murph in Toronto. I love it. All the folks on the Canadian in the Canadian East Coast, the east of Canada here, still up on a Sunday night. Somebody's asking. ST was asking, is that Pete with Angus? Yeah, that was me when I was about 14 or 15 with Angus. That was a thrill that night. It's all been downhill since then. That was probably the coolest night of my life because I got to go on stage with AC/DC. And that was the first time I was ever like on stage in an arena and looking out at a crowd, that all the energy coming at the stage, and felt what that felt like, and that was like very addictive. So. Anyway, I should be looking up here. I keep forgetting I've still got my other camera up here, but it's this one that's working. Sorry. I'll try and get in that habit. Hi, how are you? It looks like I'm looking at the camera anyway. That's just been that way since I was born. So whatever. Nothing I can do about that. We got Braveheart Reefer in Scotland. What's up? And it's hotter than balls in Seattle, says Chef Jeff. Yeah, man, I know it's hot. It's not that's hot down here. It's kind of crazy. It's like... pretty, like, I just spent 3 days. I was chilling kind of at the beach and stuff because it was my birthday, and that's why I'm here late today. That's what's going on, because I was on a drive today to come back to LA, but it was like 73 during the day, or maybe in the sun it feels like it's hotter, but like and then at night it'd get down to 65, 66. So it's been kind of normal, really. I guess it was warm when I got home today in Pasadena. When I got back home. Yeah. Samuel's in Brazil. What's up, man? How you doing? Vincent says, happy birthday. Thanks. Appreciate it, man. Thank you. And, see, it's working out for some people. Paul says, first Sunday show, I'm not at rehearsal. Watch it on breaks. Well, I'm glad you guys are here. Glad you made it. It's starting to look like a disco party in here. I kind of like it. Oh, Buzz is there in the super duper chat, and he says, let's get into guitar talk. He says, looking to free up some real estate on a pedal board for live. Curious about opinion on using an HX Stomp for mod and how it stacks up against stuff like the Strymon. I really like the H9 for mod, actually, like especially like the 70s chorus. If you use chorus, is super good in it. I think it sounds great. The rotary sounds are good. My favorite rotaries are in the H9, but the rotaries are good in the HX stuff. The delays are good. I've always liked the vintage digital line 6 algorithm, as well as the tape delays, and they're good. They're cool. So I wouldn't have any fear about it. You've got this. Did they come up with the new update do spillover? I think it might. I can't remember, to be honest, but there's always the snapshots thing to do spillover. It's kind of a workaround, but I'm just not sure if I thought they did an update that maybe tackles spillover. It's been a minute since I've kind of been in Helix land, so although I might be back in it again soon because there's something they brought up that they want me to do. So, but anyways, yeah, I say go for it. I think you'll like it if it's a great jack of all trades. There's no doubt about it. I think you'll dig. Flanger's good. What else for mod? Vibrato is cool. I mean, it's good. Yeah, especially for your use. The thing that I probably like, the area that I wish was, like, it's still good. It's okay, but the reverbs are the one where I sort of default to the H9. But delays, mod, there's lots of great stuff in there. And then, of course, there's all the other stuff that, you may or may not care about, but the synth stuff and the ability to host IRs, obviously, and the ability to have something on your board that's actually an amp sim in case your amp goes down at a gig is pretty cool. Sessions with Jeff says, happy birthday. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. Awesome to catch this live. It's a little early on a Monday morning in Australia. Yeah, would love to see you and Dave do a Marshall through the years demoing variants 62 to 82. Like a video? That would be interesting, actually. It would be kind of a cool video. Like, okay, let's take a Marshall and do, it's a lot of variants that you're talking about, but you could almost take, it's an interesting idea. You could almost take like 150 watt amp or something and do Plexi, JCM 800, JTM 45, sort of like, some of the values. I mean, there's a lot of things that change, though, like little things over the years, and Dave knows a lot more about it than I do. But like moving from JTM 45 circuit to the kind of transitional, I was reading about the Hendrix amp yesterday. Supposedly Hendrix had kind of sort of like the later EQ, but with the shared cathode or whatever at the beginning still, which is more like a JTM 45. So a JTM 4500 is, and then evidently his had one power transformer, but when they did the early JTM 4500, when they did the reissue of the JTM 4500 that Marshall did it, they used the 250 watt power transformers. It's a little different than I guess what Jimmy's. So Jimmy's amps were like really transitional and kind of weird. And primarily, I sort of think, I was talking about this with John Sir the other day, I sort of think that, because we were talking about that PRS brought out that amp, or two amps, and we were talking about what did he actually use, and then John did a little research and we looked into it, and it sounds like still had the shared cathode, and then the slightly later EQ, but then one power transformer 4500, obviously solid state rectifier. It's kind of this weird hybrid thing, but it would be cool to look at like doing like a 50 watt Plexi, let's say 50 watt JCM 800, and then what else? I guess JTM 45, Plexi 50, and then JCM. Like that'd be a neat video for sure. And that would cover basically what you're saying, sort of like mid 60s through 82 or so. My favorite is always just the Plexi 50 kind of, or Plexi 100, 68. That's kind of my favorite amps. Whenever I dabble in other stuff, I don't like it as much. Yeah. So what else we got? Jamie says, happy birthday. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Thanks so much. Maybe focused on your preferred models, this Sessions with Jeff. Yeah, I mean, my favorite would be really what I've got sitting right there. I mean, pretty much like it's a 7250 watt. And then the variations, that you can do, it's like, there's just so many different things you can toy with, like with filtering and with bright caps. It's like bright caps, filtering, different things like that you can play with. Whether or not you have that Van Halen fat cap in there, that's kind of a mod. It's not a stock thing, but it's not like worlds apart different. We kind of went over a little bit of it in the like that EVH deep dive tone video where you hear the difference between the 50K and the 25K mid. That's kind of a cool thing. Stuff like that. So, but yeah, there's more to toy with for sure. I'd ask Dave to come up with it. Like, can you show us? The other one's negative feedback, because those early amps, like the JTM 45s and stuff, the early were 27K negative feedback, which has a more slightly smoother, chilled out sound than the later 47K. And depending where you take the negative feedback off of, whether it's a 16 ohm tap or the 4 ohm tap, boy, we're getting technical here. I sound like I know what I'm talking about. I really don't, but I know what it sounds like when you move from the 16 ohm tap to the 4 ohm, and whether it's 27K or 47. Basically, we sort of have some of those options built into the back of, like, right there, that amp right there, the PT100, the negative feedback knob. When you turn it, you can kind of go from 27 to somewhere around 70 something in the middle, I think is what it is. And it just gets bigger and more open and a little less chilled out. Like it's a little more wild sounding with the less negative feedback, but sometimes not in the way that you want. Like that sounds like, oh, that'd be better. It's like sometimes the more negative feedback has a smoother kind of more refined sound that can be the right thing for some parts. So it just depends. Happy birthday to you, says Plexico. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. We're doing the super chat. All you guys doing the super chat. Where are all these super chats? You guys are too kind. Who's that there? That's Buzz. Thanks, Buzz. Appreciate it, man. Thank you very much. Here's one more. Christopher says, you mentioned using a Blackstar Fly to test EMI in the studio with a battery-powered amp. I did do that, yeah. I have one. It's a good little amp. Curious what EQ settings you used on it for clean and dirty. Geez, I don't remember. I lost mine. The last time I saw mine, I was in Japan in 2018, and it never made it back. I can remember the last night of tour, like stuffing things and my tech helping me because it's kind of chaos, like breaking down. If anybody's ever been to a show in Japan and seen how quick they break down, it's wild after a gig. Just guys running around. I mean, they try and get out of there in like 2 hours, like an arena show. It's nuts, like the speed at which and the efficiency. Everybody's wearing hard hats and they're like cooking their work. It's actually really amazing to see them break down a stage. It's entertaining. I've stood there just taking video of it because I can't believe the efficiency. But it's not a great time to make decisions about, I haven't thought about where to put this thing and where to put, because it's like literally there's people just running everywhere around you and stuff. That's exactly what I did. I was backstage going, it's because you're like, how am I going to fly? It's always like overweight flying home, luggage and stuff. So anyways, I had the little Blackstar and some clothes and things I was shoving in my guitar vault. And I was like, can this go in here? And my tech was like, like just kind of, and it didn't make it in somehow. So it was just a mistake. It just probably got left out somewhere. But anyways, okay. Yeah. So I just don't remember. Like my memory of it is it has one tone control, and I would probably crank it up 3/4 the way up or something, I think. And I remember it didn't have like a ton of gain. So like if I was playing dirty rock stuff, I would crank the gain all the way up and then just add a little echo and then have fun in my hotel room with it. Yeah. Kevin said he says he's built some Marshall style amps. You probably know more than I do for sure, but if you've actually gone through and built one. I've always wanted to do that Egnator amp class, like where you go to Michigan and build one, learn how to do it so that I could at least be somewhat dangerous knowing what I'm talking about. Yeah, and thanks again there. Okay, appreciate that, Mr. Plexico. Yeah. What else do we got here? You folks are talking about Seattle. You live in a beautiful city. It is a nice city. I love Seattle. I really love Vancouver. I like Portland too. Nice cities. I always feel like just where I feel at home is on the West Coast, and I could feel like I could hang in any of those places and be okay. I don't know why that is. I love visiting the East Coast, but I never feel like that's home, and probably East Coast people probably feel like that too when they come West. I don't know, maybe, but I always just feel like Vancouver, that feels like home. Maybe I just spent a lot of time there as a kid is all it is. And I didn't travel to the East Coast till later. But I love all those cities. I do. Does the Fox Gear Echo 6 Baby have spillover? Geez, I don't know, man. I'd have to go check. Don't remember. Sorry. Speaking of which, what happened this week for pedal videos? Earlier in the week, I put out the video for the J Rocket analog delay. Now, there was some little bit of controversy over the name, I guess, and I noticed that the website wasn't up after I put out the video. And I don't know what's going on with that, so one would have to contact J Rocket to find out. But they did make a nice version of a Memory Man sort of delay. It was actually designed by the original designer of the Deluxe Memory Man, and quite cool. So you might check that out if you can see the video on my channel if you didn't see it. And then the other video I put out this week was for this guy, the Cornerstone. It's called, I always script the name. It's called the Antique Classic Drive. I don't know why I have trouble remembering the name of this pedal. It's the Antique Classic Drive. I want to say the Vintage Classic Drive or the Vintage Antique. but no, it's the anti-classic. So anyways, there's that one. And this is like a nice screamer style pedal, but that you can reduce the compression on and also kind of flatten the mids just with these two toggle switches right here. And then it's also got two tone controls instead of one. So it's a little more versatile. It's got my favorite sound on it is because it'll do the screamer thing. It does that really well. But then the less compression, less mids sound with like the drive and the volume up about 1 or 2 o'clock just sounds great for a nice, you know, like you don't want it clean, but you don't want it dirty. And you want the notes to sing a little bit. It's beautiful for that. So I put that one up this week too. Vincent, there in the super chat. What's up? Thank you, man. He says, a pound of your favorite Java. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. I do. I'm going to get some. Van Halen 2 question. Ed uses an effect on Light Up the Sky. It's really pronounced, right? If Dave says, come see your children. Where does he say that? Oh. Come see your children and lighting up the sky. Right. Let me think. What is he playing right there? What part is that? I mean, there's definitely an echoplex on there, I think. I'd have to listen. Oh, that's flanger, I think. Sorry, I really had to think about it, sing it in my head. I think that's flanger that you're talking about. Pretty sure, like where he kicks on the flanger for a minute. I think I have to go listen. I can't really go listen because then they always flag my video if I play it, like and listen to it. I suppose I could listen to it on my phone, so you could barely hear it. But I'll check it and then I'll get back with you next time or something like that. But I'm pretty sure that's just flanger, right, guys? That's what he's talking about, right? The flanger. Vito's up there too in the super duper chat. He says, "Would I have phasing issues putting creamback speakers with a V30?" No, you shouldn't. Do the Hertz ratings affect the tones? No, it's more the only issue, the only time you'll get phasing with different speakers is if you're using two different amps. Because the speakers don't flip the phase, but the amplifier stages do. As you add another gain stage to amps, it flips the phase every time. So that's why sometimes you'll use like, you know, 2 amps together and one's out of phase with the other one. And that sounds really weird when you stand right in between the 2 cabinets. The amps have to be at the same volume approximately. So it's best to keep a phase flip speaker cable or a box that'll flip phase, like a lot of AB boxes or stuff like that. They'll have a phase for the second output as well as an ISO to control any ground loops as well as phasing issues. But the one thing you do want to be careful of with speakers is the efficiency and how loud each of the speakers is. Now with a, say like an H magnet creamback, I think you'll be about the same as the V30 because they both have a heavy magnet, I think. V30's got big magnet, right? Or big for Celestion, the 50 ounce or whatever. So that's the only thing. As long as I always say with speakers are within 2 dB of one another efficiency. So if one's 97 and one's 99, you're okay. You know, the one is going to be somewhat just a little bit dominant, but it's okay. If they go more than 3, I usually find then okay, now it sounds weird. Like the one side, is that one side of the cabinet working? Oh yeah, it's working, but it just I can't hear it nearly as well as this speaker. It starts to get into that in like a 212 or a 412 with mixed, and that's why, you know, if you take greenbacks and V30s and blend them, it's cool to have the greens on the top, especially in an angled cab, because those are the ones you mainly hear. It's when you do it in a 212 or an X pattern that it can be a little weird if there's a big difference. So look at the efficiency. As long as it's like if one's 97 and one's 99 or one's 98 and the other one's 100, you're cool. Or 1 dB better or exactly the same, ideally, I think. Yeah. Vincent says, I thought so, but then I thought maybe it was a phase 90 talking about that light up the sky effect. I seem to remember it's flanger right there. Yeah, Simon says it's a flanger. Yeah. Yeah, he used to just punch the flanger occasionally. He'd sort of tend to leave the phaser on more for like long solos, but the flanger was his punch on and off thing. You know, just the last beat 3 and 4 of the bar in Ain't Talking About Love, right? And occasionally he'd leave the flanger on for a little while, but rarely. It's like the beginning, you hear about it later, the flange was on for the whole thing, certain solos he'd leave it on, but usually the flanger was his punctuating effect to punctuate little things and just turn on for a minute. I loved how he used it. I told him that once, that I was like, I remember and he was, typically kind of shrugged it off, but I was like, that's so cool how you did that, how you just punctuate things with, and I never heard anybody do that exactly like that. It was very unique, So, who else does that? Almost nobody did that on, certainly not with a mod effect like a flanger. When you blend amps, do you usually do a clean and a dirty to get the articulation from both? I've never done that, but it's interesting. Like Alex Lifsen evidently did that for when he used to use his whatever the Marshall, what was it called? The models he used, 4104 or whatever. He'd run those combos around the Signals and Grace Under Pressure era. That's what he used to do, and maybe before, I don't know, but for a while there, evidently, I never understood, but what he was doing was running a clean amp and a dirty amp, and now it totally makes sense to me when you think about his sounds and how articulate they are. And he would record that way and also run it live like that, and then you could just push the fader on whatever part, And it's interesting because, I'd have to go back and listen, but when I think about songs like Red Barchetta or certainly a lot of the stuff in the Signals and Grace Under Pressure era, the clarity and stuff on the tones, and then it sounds many times like one performance, not a ton of overdubs, but it could be that they're just muting things at the board and bringing, or automating to bring out the dirty or the clean. I don't know exactly how they did it, and I do find I'd love to talk to him about it actually at some point, which just brings me back around to I'd love to interview him. I know I've said this before, but I got to look into that and just get a little bit less. I got to be a little bit less lazy about it and just get on it. But I would really love to interview him, and I know he's got some new music coming out, so maybe he would be down with. Anybody hear that? He's got he's evidently recorded a bunch of songs with the singer and ex-bass player of Coney Hatch. And I think a couple of them are actually, you can listen to them on his website. I haven't checked them out yet. When I see things I saw that on my phone, I think it was yesterday or maybe it was early this morning. I can't remember when I read it, but I was reading about these songs and I don't want to hear them on my phone. I want to go wait till I'm here or something and listening on speakers and give it a fair shake, so that I can really hear what, listening on a phone is just, to me, it's depressing when, if there's something you think is really cool and then you let's check it out. Then you listen to it on the phone. It's never it's not going to have any kind of impact, It could be oh, that's a good melody or those lyrics are interesting or whatever, but you're not going to be oh, that song rocks, ever from listening to it on a phone through the speakers or whatever. So I always wait. So I waited and I haven't listened yet, but yeah, anyways, Mike is saying Alex Lifeson did it. Yep, he did. And it's really cool. I'd love to because that's a really unique way to get sounds. And he used some effects that he used, I know in the 80s and stuff, he had the TC-1210, right? And I'd love to just talk to him about some of those sounds. I go watch Rush videos often on YouTube and, and check out. The other day I was watching some later shows like Snakes and Arrows and, that kind of era, and then I went way back and I was listening to Signals era, and it's amazing how much cleaner his sound was. I guess that happened to a lot of people. Excuse me. When he went to the Hughes and Kettner amps and stuff, I guess just when amps had more gain stages and stuff, he used more gain and stuff. But Yeah, Eric says it's depressing. Distorted guitar sounds terrible on a phone. It does. I mean, and you just can't hear anything. I mean, it's like listening. You might as well listen like on an AM, one of those little AM radios, like when we were kids or whatever. You know, if you're as old as me out there, or older, or maybe just a little bit younger. You know, like one of those little battery powered things with a little earpiece or something. You know, it's like it's no better than that, really, is it? Like, you know. Anyone else hear the 1 minute outtake from 5150 that Sammy released yesterday? No, I didn't. Where'd you hear that? That's interesting. Is it on his IG or something? We can listen on our phones. I'd love to hear it. Yeah, that would be cool. Well, we got 287 people online. That's pretty good for doing it at a weird time and all that. I'm happy about that. Get Alex on, and again, happy birthday, says Ian. Thanks, Ian. I would love to. I'll see if I can look into it and see if he'd be at all interested. I think that would be really fun. Paul Dean from Loverboy told me that he used the Loft Flanger rack mount unit. Man, some of Paul Dean's tones were so great. I mean, the Turn Me Loose tone is kind of quintessential, and evidently, I think that's a high watt. I think. This is high watt with the Canadian mod on it. Bob Rock was when Bob Rock was on Tone Talk, I was one of the guest hosts, and he was talking about it. And so it's just a Canadian modded high watt. I find that so interesting. The whole like when amps came to Canada, how they were slightly different with the different tubes. I might be repeating myself because I think I talked about this in the last Sunday Live, but how they only had, you know, the Marshalls only had a 4 and 8 ohm tap, and they had EL34s, whereas everything that was going to the States then was 6550s. And some different things, you know, but evidently the high watts, the distributor would do some mod to them or something, and so that was Paul's amp on, you know, evidently I think on that song. I hope I don't have that wrong. I don't think it's a Marshall, but anyway, what a great guitar sound on that song. It's cool. I love the part too. You know, I love the space in with the synth and the boom boom boom. When people left space in music, and then when he comes in with that, that's great, man. I mean, come on, that's classic right there. So much space and so much development before the vocal even comes in. It's really similar to Action by Streetheart. And I kind of wonder if like one band copied the other band, but I don't remember what came out first. I think Streetheart came first, but maybe not. I could be wrong about that. Come on, you Canadians, tell me which one came first. But Action is super. It was like a sound. They were like, it's like, oh, we need a song like that with an intro like that, but it can't sound exactly the same. So if you've never heard of Action by Streetheart, nobody will know what the hell we're talking about if they're not Canadian. But go look it up if you're American and check out some. You know, one of the things that's fun for me is like traveling around and playing with bands that are from different countries, like in Japan, and the artists I played with in France and stuff, and realizing that there's this whole music culture over there that you didn't know anything about probably if you grew up in the US or, you know, like that kind of thing. There's just like, it's a very like, you know, central to that country or whatever, only, you know, and I find that stuff really interesting. So outside of Canada, there's a lot of folks that won't know a band like Streetheart, but how cool they were, you know, like how much cool stuff they did, or some of the other stuff like Headpins, and I've talked about on this show, some of the great Canadian Harlequin guitar player in the band Haywire, if you want to hear a great, you know, 80s influence, kind of Eddie Van Halen influence. He was great. I can't remember his name. And then what's his name? Derry from Honeymoon Suite and all that. That's his name, right? Yeah. Great guitar players that I grew up listening to. Kind of fun. Nathan says, I'm an inspiration for the guitar community. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Is there any advice you have for booking a first gig for a band just starting out? I would make a great demo tape. Who says tape anymore? You got to make a great recording of some sort, and maybe like a, you know, kind of an EPK kind of thing, like with some video, maybe. Could be worth it to spend a little bit, you know, if you're a band and you don't have any recording stuff of your own, to maybe either have a friend that has a recording studio or a home studio help, you know, to record and get a great sound. But you want to get anytime I was like, you know, starting and trying to get gigs or like as a cover band or as a, you know, you'd make a recording and then go and find the powers that be. Go to the club that you want to play at and go say, who books gigs here? And just ask somebody, anybody, the bartender, and they'll say, oh, there's this guy, or there's whatever, this person, the manager. And then you go to them and, I mean, nowadays, I guess you could bring it to them on a USB drive or something, but like either just a recording or like I can remember making with a cover band. I had like a 3-piece cover band making probably put like 5 or 6 tunes on there by the Police and the Beatles and something else, and maybe only playing like a verse and a chorus of each song and then segueing into another one, fading, but you need something like that to show people, and maybe like a photo or whatever. Nowadays, you probably get the guy's email or whatever, and then just email them like an MP3 that's like a 3-minute, here's what our band does, sounds like this. And then with a photo or whatever, the name, and, and see if you can get a booking, and, many times it's like, they'll book you on an off night on a Monday or on a Tuesday, just check you out or something, see if you're good. And then, if you, it's kind of like anything, if it works out, then it goes from there, and you tend to get, a better gigs, better slots throughout the week or whatever. And you kind of just do that with every club until you build your thing. John says, BE 100 Deluxe effect suggestion. Currenty, bosom boosts, EVH flange. John, are you drinking? Bosom boosts, EVH flange, P90, Eventide micro pitch, DD500, Newberg Mark II. Okay, are you asking me for what effects I would use? It sounds like you kind of got it covered. You got an EVH flange. You got an EVH kind of avatar there. So I would say you need a flanger and a phase 90. Eventide micro pitch, sure. DD500, great. I mean, you don't need anything else. Maybe for the clean channel, a compressor would be nice. I like the new Sir Andy Wood compressor. It's called the Woodshed. It's nice. What else? Yeah, that delay you're going to be running in the loop. Probably the DD500. So it's nice to have a delay in front. That'd be one thing you could have fun with. I like the Echoplex for a simple tape style, in front, especially if you're trying to do a Van Halen kind of thing, which I know you love. So, but yeah, the Dunlop simple Echoplex pedal is great in front. I use the Unit 67 a lot. That's another great pedal. It's a compressor with a very simple 2-band EQ as well as a kind of a mid boost. And it's kind of can be a clean boost. It can be a simple EQ. It can be a compressor, a little bit of Rangemaster style mid boost. It's such a nice pedal to preamp the front end of an amp. So there's a few suggestions of things that you might not have. It's nice to have a delay up front, like the Echoplex in front. And I do that Van Halen. I kind of showed it in the video where I was talking about his tuning, the B string that I put out recently, called Van Halen 1 Tone Secret or whatever I called it. But I show the echo if you want to listen to it on there, and that's the Echoplex pedal, and I would just set it like that and forget it, for that kind of thing. It's fun for a hard rock tone to have one of those on in front. Happy birthday, says John. Thank you, John. Appreciate it. Favorite cake for birthdays? I'm a tough case because I don't eat gluten, so I'm a pain in the ass when it comes to cake. But it's like one of those, like, which I kind of like more actually, but like the chocolate, wheat-free cakes, and it's just like a big hunk of fudge. What's that from? It's that big hunk of fudge. Was that a Canadian ad for something? It was, right? I just had like a Canada flashback. I'm feeling this kick in, and I'm like, I'm very wired right now, but it's kind of fun. What else we got here? Is Ben here? What's up, Ben? I know Ben. I thought he was busy, but he might have jumped into the scene. Welcome, Ben. Let's see here. What else we got here? Someone who called themselves Eddie Van Halen is up in the says, happy birthday. How about an Alex Lifeson deep tone dive going over the different eras? It would be a long one, but worth doing. I would rather, like I say, just try and maybe interview him. I would love to do that. I don't know why I think he'd be open to it, but I think he might be. and I'd just love to chat with him because, like, I don't know, I want to talk to that guy. So I think it would be amazing. So that's going to be one I definitely pursue. But I would love to know, exactly what he was doing back then, because it's a little bit of a mystery to me. And his guitar sounds are really great, and not only that, his guitar style. I mean, just the arpeggiation and the chords he used to play. I mean, it were so cool. And I just musically, it's not everybody's favorite Rush album, but for me, it was that point where I was just really getting into music. So Signals, like Digital Man, the chords he plays in the kind of reggae part, the stabs, it's so cool. It's like how did you decide to do those voicings and that movement of the chords? And you guys know I kind of do stuff like that in my writing, and I love writing where there's like voice leading and kind of a melody moving with the chords. I love that stuff where it's like he's kind of spelling out, the guitar becomes the lead vocal there for a minute in the song before Geddy comes in singing for a good solid 8 bars. There's just that guitar part. It runs around twice, and the chords are so great. And I'm always just so fascinated by that stuff. Folks talk about 2112 and Hemispheres and everything else, but for me it was like that was the album where I was just starting to get really into music. I was 10 or 11 years old or whatever, and I was getting the bug, and so I spent a lot of time listening to it. So anyways, I would love to do that and ask him about other things, of course. So Kelvin says, learned so much from you. Oh, I hope I didn't steer you wrong. Just got my first fuzz, a full tone 69. That's a cool pedal. Also a Ted Weber Mass 200 watt attenuator for my Angle Powerball. Happy birthday. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. You're up in Canada. You know of which I speak, I think. Big chunk of fudge. I know Henry Bar, maybe. I love this is a very Canadian themed show tonight. It's that big chunk of fudge. See, nobody will know what we're talking about if they're not Canadian. Sorry, guys. We're fun, though. Us Canadians, we are. Are the bridges on your guitars floating or blocked? Happy birthday. Generally speaking, thank you. Generally speaking, I like to set up my tremolos floating, and I'm not sure how close this one will be. Pretty close. So I'll set them up so that I can pull up about a whole step on the G and a half step on the B. Right? So that's how I set them up. To do that, they need to be floating just and angled ever so slightly forward from parallel with the body. That's what I've found. And that's how I set up my Wilkinsons. Now my Strat, my old Strat, I have more set up like a little bit more of a Jeff Beck thing where it'll actually pull up further. It'll actually probably go a whole step on the B. It's more angled forward. And it stays in tune beautifully like that. So I don't ever want to change the way that guitar is set up. But generally speaking, the way I'll do it is what I just said, so that I can pull up about I always find if you set the bridge just right, it's like set it on the G string so that it's about a whole step when you pull up. It equates to about a half step on the B. Just kind of works out that way by accident. And I like it like that. My Wolfgang is decked. That's the one guitar that, just only goes down, a la Eddie. Yeah. John's up there again. John, so the Unit 67 from Dry Bell. Yes, exactly. That's it, John. From Dry Bell. Great pedal. They make really nice vibes as well. Like the Vibe Unit or something it's called, or the Vibe. I can't remember the name of pedals anymore. But check out the Unit 67. I did a video for it, and I was like, this is my favorite new pedal, and sure enough, it's on my board and I use it all the time. So it's just really useful if you just need more. I need a boost, but I want some mids. I need a boost, but I want some mids, and I don't want the low end to be as full. So I'm going to dump that a little, clean up the, you can do all that with it and just kind of shape. And then even for a clean sound, it's a nice compressor. So, and all that is kind of, it's very easy to use too. It's just so simple. It's a really neat combination of things in one pedal. How great would it be if Pete did an entire live stream as his Revenge of the Nerds alter ego? I want to hear the pedal through a clean amp. How am I supposed to tell if when it sounds like if the amp's already dirty. That guy. Yeah, I should do that again in another video. That's been I mean, it was like a 10-second bit I did, and it's very popular. So I think I need to bring that guy back. And he'll always wear that shirt. I lost those glasses though. I used to wear. I don't know where they ended up. Like I when you're just like, where did the pair of glasses go? And they fell down, probably under the seat of my car or something. I'll never find them again. I'll go get some different ones, and we'll revisit that guy. It's the best kind of grumpy, like YouTube comment. I could do a whole thing actually in that character and just reading YouTube comments, like shitty ones. Oh. Yeah. Boring. I had one this past week, and it was like about Eddie Van Halen. It was like, enough Van Halen. That sounds old. It all sounds old. Whatever. Fuck off. Interview Alex Lifsen in that character. Actually, that'd be pretty fun. You guys have probably seen the. I mean, I had a whole new respect and appreciation for Alex Lifeson after the Trailer Boys episode where they kidnap him, and he's like wrapped in the garbage bags. Like, that was one of the greatest things I've ever seen. That was so awesome. Oh God, good stuff. Tim says, very cool of you to help out Rhett. I was really happy he asked me. Do most studio musicians carry insurance in case of injury? That's an interesting, okay, well, studio musicians, if you're on a union session, I think technically you're covered under some sort of, union, like workers' comp, basically, because you're kind of working double W-2, or is it 1099? I think it's W-2, right? If you're working on a union. Now, is there any of those anymore? I mean, I haven't done one of those in a long time. But I think technically you're covered by workers' comp if you were doing a session like that. But other than that, no. And that's why, if you've got a studio, if you're really smart and you're getting people to come in and do things, you'll have some sort of liability insurance, I guess, because it's like if somebody were to slip in your building and fall down, they could technically sue you, if there was like something spilled on the floor and all that, right? So it gets into a whole area of, in this litigious country that we live in, I guess it's a concern. It's not something that most people probably worry about until it's too late, and hopefully it will never happen. But anyways, Alex Lifeson is still in the current season of Trailer Park Boys. Really? See, I haven't watched. I haven't really. Okay, now you got me. It's like another show I've got to watch. I get watching these shows. I'm right now. I started watching The Bureau. That's great. It's like a French. I think it's supposed to be like the French intelligence service equivalent of the CIA, right? And it's really great. But it's subtitles, and I watch it at night. And I don't know about you guys, but you ever watch subtitles and you fall asleep, and you can't. How you can be kind of like tired and watch shows that are not subtitled, right? And you can get through it. On a show that's subtitled, you're done. Like if you just get a little sleepy, it's over. You can't read anymore. And so anyways, it's taken me a long time to watch that one. But I've been watching that one, and I've been watching that crazy show called The Serpent on Netflix about this like creepy, basically serial killer dude that in Thailand in the 70s. It's pretty good. I like it. But anyways, another show I got to watch now, Trailer Park Boys. Yeah. Health insurance in California is mandatory, so we all have something. Yeah, I mean, I guess you do, but if you, yeah, I guess I think he's more talking about like, if you were to hurt yourself on a premises or something, and then like almost like workers' comp kind of stuff or whatever. I don't know. Anyways, and about Tim, about your comment about Rhett and his accident. Poor Rhett. Rhett Schull. He fell down and he broke his collarbone cycling, which made me really think about I got to be careful on my bike. But he's gonna heal up and be 100%. But his video is great that he put out this week. I think he did a video that he asked me to contribute to on the Univibe and the history of it, and he gets so deep into it, and it's great. So kudos to him for, coming up with a great idea. I think getting other folks to play, but he's just talking about the history of the vibe and how it was developed and where it came from. He makes great videos, he really puts in the time to do the research. And I learned, I think I've mentioned before, like his orange video was great. And he got together with Rick Beato and did that. And I learned a lot from that because I didn't know a lot about orange amplifiers. I knew a little bit, but it was like, oh, okay. Now I know which one I like and which ones I would find actually. And there's like a couple of them that I actually really wouldn't have a use for. And then one of them that was great. So, and I learned that from that video. So I love it, And the Unified video he put together was really nice. He had some great playing from Chris Buck and others in there. So anyways, he's making good use of his time while he's got some downtime from playing. So Nathan says, your nerd voice is the best thing ever. Oh, thank you. I don't know. It's just like the when I hear like a YouTube comment, that is, everybody always wants something else. Folks are like, oh, well, I'd rather have somebody that can't play that well because, that would be a more honest thing. Or I'd rather have a mic in the room than have a mic on the amp. Or I'd rather have a mic on the amp than have a mic in the room. Or I'd rather have well, then you go make the video that you want to see. I don't know. I don't, it's not really that frustrating, but, every now and then just gets to be silly. Kevin says, damn, he really hurt himself. Yeah, he did. And Kevin saying collarbone, fractures can be bad. Yeah, for sure. But he's a young guy, and I'm sure he'll heal up 100%, So, yeah. What is a great fuzz pedal better than the Big Muff? Well, fuzz, it's no different than overdrive, where you can have everything from a blues breaker to a tube screamer to a Nobles to, they all sound a little different. And the one thing with fuzzes to me that can get really different is whether or not they respond to the guitar, changes with the volume control and all that, the impedance stuff, like a fuzz face versus a Big Muff, which doesn't, and also whether or not they'll work with a buffer, which a fuzz face won't, a tone bender won't, right? But a Big Muff does. So it just depends, and they're very different sounds. I mean, a Big Muff and a fuzz face to me sound totally different. Even different fuzz faces, the later silicon ones or whatever, sound very different to me than the earlier. So, it just depends on what you want. To me, like a fuzz face is very mellow, actually. It can sound kind of big and woolly, but it's not, there's no attack, and it's very smooth, and it can be wild sounding, but it's never, to me, fuzz face isn't heavy. It's kind of dark and warm and, smooth the attack and all that. Whereas a Big Muff can be Smashing Pumpkins and be more like a wall of sound, A fuzz face is never that to me. And then you've got your brutal kind of fuzzes, like the, I don't know what's a good example, the Fuzz Factory from Zvex or something, and it'll do all the crazy stuff with, kind of impedance where you're rolling your volume down, and make the guitar like whistle and stuff, and do all kinds of crazy screaming and stuff depending on where the volume is. And there's some other great ones. Forgetting the name. There's a company, I think it was from Montreal, that I did recently, where it kind of looked like it was like a wood box, and I did a video of that on my channel recently. That was really cool. Or the Third Man stuff, the Jack White stuff, the Bumblebee. That's wild. It's one sound. There's no knobs on it. You just turn it on, and it kind of makes every guitar sound the same, but it's cool. It's one sound, but it's a cool sound. It's a fun one. So it just depends on what you want. The Sir Rufus and Rufus Reloaded are really nice. They have a nice variety of tones. They'll work with buffers, and they don't really do the fuzz face thing, but they have a cool, the 2-sound thing where you hold the button down and it does a different thing. And it's the Rufus Reloaded, I think, that does the Octavia mode too. That'll add the octave up. So that's cool. And the fuzz that I always recommend to folks, if they want a fuzz that is really versatile and doesn't, you know, if you don't like fuzz generally, you're like, I don't get fuzz, but I want a fuzz. The Starlight from Crazy Tube Circuits, because it's more like a distortion in some ways, but when you turn the gain all the way up or up above 2 o'clock or something, now it's okay. Now it's definitely a fuzz, you know, big brawny notes, big, you know, it's, but at the lower settings, it kind of sounds like a distortion, and it can even sound kind of like an overdrive at the lower setting. So it's very versatile and just a great lead tone. Like into a clean amp, that pedal by itself, much like Gilmore would use a big muff, it's like a less brutal sound than the big muff or something, but not in a less heavy way. I don't know how else to describe it. It's a little more like just a great distortion or something that, you know, to me, distortion sounds like, you know, I think of distortion or amp style distortion or pedals as being kind of thinner, like, you know, less, well, I guess it's just not squared off as much, you know, you know, that more square wave kind of fuzz sound, individual notes are really big and fat, chords sound big and kind of woolly, even if they have attack, like a big muff has more attack than a fuzz face. So, but anyway, Starlight. The other one I really like personally is the, and I use it a lot for recording if I want a fuzz, is the BAE Hot Fuzz, which is a great sounding silicone fuzz that it's its own thing, but it has that big brawny, it's more in the big muff camp, I guess, than a fuzz face camp. But it's got a treble booster too. And when you turn them both on, it is cool. Like the treble booster with the fuzz, it's wild sounding, really great for leads and stuff, you know. Pete, could you explain? This is Patrick Carroll. Wow, we got 340 people online almost. Thanks for being here, you guys, at the odd time. That's great. Could you explain when you bend your whammy bar down and when you bend it up, and which direction you use for vibrato? Or is it both? I kind of go up and down for vibrato. Like if I'm holding a chord, and I got that from Alex Lifsen, really, that thing, you know, I'll do that, you know, more like, and that, then I'll go down, or I'll do both, you know, but if I'm vibratoing a note, I tend to go around the note more, like kind of up and down with the bar, sort of just so that it's an even up and down thing, which you can't do with finger vibrato, you know. There's no way, it's always up. You're always raising the pitch. But with the tremolo bar, you can move around the pitch both up and down. I love that, you know. So, and Alex Lifeson was really the guy that I probably first saw do that, you know, like holding chords and he used the bar for vibrato a lot, and it's really cool on his Hentor, right? What they call that? The Hentor something or Captor, the guitar that he had that looked like a, you know, white Strat or whatever. I loved that. That's like, once again, that's that kind of like you know, moving picture signals era. Yeah. John says, is the Unit 67 really worth $400? I didn't know it was that much. I actually had no idea it was that much. They sent me one to make the video, so that's a lot. That's a good question. It's a hell of a price. It could be, you know, just COVID times or something. Maybe it's gone up. I don't know. They are made in Croatia, so it's coming from way over there. But $400 is quite a bit. I'd really have to think about it. Is it worth it? You know, I mean, it's a great pedal, but that's, for any pedal, that's really a lot of money. So it does do the job of a clean boost, a simple compressor, and kind of a Rangemaster style boost in one pedal. So, but that is steep. There's no doubt. I don't have a great answer for that. I guess if you have a lot of expendable cash, you know. The Hendrix Sportscaster. That's right. Yeah. Here's an interesting question. I was diagnosed with peripheral neuropathy. My fingers. I know a lot of folks get that when they, if they're going through, you know, chemotherapy or things like that. You can get that nerve stuff going on. That's tough, man. I don't really have a lot of great advice. I mean, I guess probably pretty much anything you can do loosen up and not have any kind of tension or any kind of pinching. I wonder where it comes from, but not being a doctor, the best person that can solve is really sports medicine people. That's what I've found. Like if you can go to a sports medicine therapist or somebody like that, those folks, generally speaking, are the ones to get stretches and, like all kinds of stuff from in order to, to do the best you can with what you've got, sort of thing. So that's what I would recommend, is find a good sports medicine therapist, kind of people that do physio and stuff like that, and maybe they can recommend some stuff. And maybe heat or ice, I don't know, maybe they might recommend that, or some simple like ibuprofen works good for me when I've got, over the years when I've had certain nerve things and stuff. But I wonder really what the root cause of that is. I've got a thyroid thing, and for me, I think a lot of the issues that I've ever had stemmed from that, because that runs in the family. And with any kind of fibromyalgia or nerve stuff or whatever, I really think there's a lot. It just my personal experience with any kind of nerve things that I've ever experienced that stem from thyroid issues, because the thyroid is that master gland that kind of controls your whole metabolism and everything else. And when it's out of whack and not functioning right, you can start to get all kinds of wacky symptoms. So that might be something to check out. That's a simple, go to your, just the GP and get a, because I had a physical 1 year and my numbers were all good. And then I started having these issues, and it was really kind of my hands. I thought I was maybe getting arthritis, and I was having some issues. And so I went to a specialist, or a rheumatoid arthritis specialist, actually. And he said, I can get you into this genetic testing that's really expensive normally, but they're running a trial right now, and I think I can get you into it, and then it won't cost you anything, and it might show us markers for that sort of thing. And I said, okay, let's do that. So he ran a full series of tests, including a standard sort of blood test. And when the results came back, he said, well, you don't have any of the markers for rheumatoid arthritis, so I don't think that's your problem, but your thyroid's a little whacked, and that was just the routine blood test. And I was like, well, that's interesting, because I had a physical done like a year ago, and I would think they would have told me that. And I went back to my GP and I said, hey, can we run these numbers again for like my thyroid? Because this other guy told me blah, 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 which we did. And that doctor, she said, yeah, it's a little like, it's kind of on the edge of like where you should probably like look at starting to treat it with some medication. And I'll send you to an endocrinologist. I'm getting long-winded about this, but anyway, I said, well, I just had this done a year ago, and she said, yeah, it was okay then. So it can be like that, I guess, where it just pops up all of a sudden. But that runs in my family, on my mom's side of the family, thyroid issues. So that's something to look at. But that's just me. You could have a totally different thing going on. But long story short, go to your GP and maybe see if you can get a referral for a sports medicine person. Zed Essex is up there in the super duper chat, and he says, watching you play inspired me to unblock the trem on my VG Strat. That's interesting. You're pure evil. Well, the interesting thing is I actually think that unblocked tremolos stay, I've come to realize they stay in tune better than, and it was through the experimentations with that. It's sitting over there. You sort of just see the edge of it, the Van Halen guitar that was built, that I realized that actually when you deck the tremolo, it's got a more severe break angle over the G and over the E than if you have it floating. And it's a more severe difference when you're using the bar from tension to no tension than if you've got it like this and then you just use it a little bit, And I've had a lot more trouble trying to keep that guitar in tune than say my 64 Strat, which has a Jeff Beck style thing going on with the bridge. So I actually think it's better to have the tremolo not decked. I mean, unless you need it for the tone, I guess it's cool to have the bridge plate touching the body and all that. But, Jeff Beck has great tone, and he doesn't use it like that. So Starlight Fuzz is by Crazy Tube Circuit. That's right. Crazy Tube Circuit, Starlight Fuzz. One of my favorite fuzzes. Really cool. Yeah. Yeah. Who else we got here? Let's see. Let's see here. I worked as an ortho nurse for years. Wow, how interesting. Well, you've probably got some really good advice then, Buzz, for Pete is spot on, but I also think about a neurologist. Yeah. All those things, right? Like maybe go to the GP and talk to them about the things we've been talking about. Neurologist, sports medicine person, running, just getting your thyroid numbers and see what's going on, and, I always like to think there's a reason for something like a peripheral neuropathy. It's like that, like I say, like one of the reasons can be if you're undergoing cancer treatment and you're doing chemo and stuff, that's a standard side effect of that, in your hands and your feet, numbness. But there's other reasons too, right? So it's like, well, there's a root cause. So trying to find that root cause, Ronan's got, actually advice about B vitamins. I've heard that too. That, what is it? Riboflavin. Is that one? And B6, I think, is another one for numbness. Yeah. Sound like I know what I'm talking about. I have a high school education. Eric Clapton suffers from peripheral neuropathy too. It was all that cocaine for all those years. I don't know, maybe. Turmeric is a good natural supplement for inflammation. Interesting. The other thing I take, guys, is, and I don't want to recommend any kind of, but this is a good one, is so I do want to recommend it. Sam E. Who knows about Sam E out there? SAM-E. I guess it's in every cell in your body anyway, but sometimes a supplemental SAM-E supplement can help reduce inflammation, and it's also, so like joints and nerve stuff, any kind of inflammation, it seems to work as well. They say, a bunch of studies I've read on it, it seems to work as well as like ibuprofen or like the non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, but without any of the side effects of those. So they can have side effects, and it's a thing that you take every day, and it also helps your mood. It's like a natural kind of antidepressant, and a lot of people that I've talked to said that I take this stuff and I feel better, and I don't have as much back pain or whatever they're taking it for, and I'm in a good mood every day. It's kind of interesting. So I actually just started taking it again. And I got my uncle that's taking it years ago. He had some knee stuff, and I think he started taking it, as well as there was a drummer friend of mine that started taking it that was having back pain, and he loved it. And I think it's very, very, very safe. And so that's something to look into. You can get it at health food stores or in like Whole Foods or whatever. Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah. MSM is also great. Yeah, that's another one, right? Glucosamine and MSM, other good stuff. Yeah. Okay, what else we got here? Let's see. That's interesting. McMaster University in Hamilton, Ontario. They have the world's cutting-edge clinic and research center for musicians' health problems. Really? How interesting. In Hamilton, I had no idea. Nathan says, do you know Michael Chavez? I know him very well. Michael, he also worked with Adam Cohen, who was one of the artists that I did my very first real tour with, was Adam. Michael ended up being his kind of partner really later on in like, in songwriting and production and all kinds of stuff, and working with him really closely. I think Michael started playing with him right after I did. And Michael's also did I think he did a Mandy Moore gig, which I played with Mandy Moore for a minute in like 2003. And Michael started right after me. So it's funny. I've known that guy for about 20 years, I think. And he's riot. He's a cool guy. Edbert Chu says, thanks for the live stream all the time. Thank you, man. Does the covered Thornbucker sound the same as the Zebra uncovered? We did tests, and the nickel version is really, really similar, nickel cover, to the raw cover, to the uncovered sound. It was so close. It was like, okay, I don't really notice, a difference. Okay, the chrome cover will change it a little more, and the gold cover even more than that. That's the only thing to know. And you can get them in gold now. So, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Somebody's saying I missed a super chat. Brett Laszlo. I did. Thanks, Lauren. for pointing that out. Hi, Brett. He says, been working the Sundays lately, but been catching your premieres, as you know. Much love and respect. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. Thank you very much for super chatting. I do appreciate it. What are your thoughts on the Two Notes Captor 8? Is that like a new Captor that I haven't seen? Let me take a look and see. I've been on vacation, man. I might have missed out. Two Notes. Let's see. Two Notes Captor 8. I think that's just the little guy, isn't it? I don't see anything but a Captor 8. Oh, shop Two Notes Captor. I only see the regular little guy. Are you talking about the little guy? The small one that's like the, you know, they're it looks like around $229. It's I think it's really good. You know, it's probably the same, really similar to the same load that's in their other units, which is a good load box, and it's a similar load actually to what you would find in the aux and in other units. So people really seem to like it. You know, they've been an industry standard for a long time, so I have no I have no reservations about it or recommending it. I think Two Notes is a good company and they make good stuff. So honestly, that's a good simple way to go. If I was cranking, oh, I see this. It is called the Captor 8. Why do they call it the Captor 8? Maybe just because it's 8 ohms. I just thought it was called the Two Notes Captor, but it is the Captor 8. That's the one we're talking about. Yeah, my only reservation would be running a 100-watt amp into it, like cranked. I might use the Live or something for that, because you're probably okay, but I don't know. I see there's also a Captor 4. So maybe they do different ohmages. Like maybe you can get it for a 4 ohm or for an 8 ohm. Is that right? I don't know. In the different, I know they're kind of a one impedance sort of box, but anyway, good unit. You know, if you're doing the Van Halen thing, cranking a 100-watt Marshall into it, I might go for just to be a little more over. I mean, they'll probably tell you it's fine, but I just, you know. But other than that, 50-watt amp, 60-watt amp, I wouldn't worry about it. You know. Music Therapy Lab says they have a 416 as well. Yeah, I guess I just didn't understand that they called them like Captor 8, Captor 4. Yeah, it's called that. Lawrence is called the Captor X. That's what I remember. Oh. Did you see the Marshall Dave is selling? Says Robert Baker. What's up, dude? How are you? Good to see you. I just shouted that, didn't I? Robert Baker. Did you play on any of the Cornell studio stuff? I played on the Scream album. A little bit. I did. It's a funny story how I did it too. If I told you, you wouldn't believe it, but I did it. What else we got here? Let's see. Your travels on your Insta stories. I need some palm trees in my life. Yeah, there's some nice stuff on there. It'll be on there for another few minutes at least. I think they only last for a day, right? If anybody wants to check out my Instagram story. Yeah. What's this about? Says EVH. There's an Eddie Van Halen in the chat. There's an EVH in the chat. Any good stories about Mandy Moore? She was, you know, super sweet and fun and just a nice. She was really like young. She was 19, so she wasn't like, you know, like it wasn't like, oh wow, we partied like crazy. It was none of that going on. You know, she was a nice person, responsible, and really cool. Like I went to the Philippines with her and her manager, and we took a band over there and had the best time at the Shangri-La in the Philippines, in Manila, for about a week. We stayed in the Shangri-La, and there was a different great cover band playing in the. Now, you know how Arnell from Journey came from the Philippines? It was like, this was my first experience with cover bands in the Philippines, and this would be the kind of place he would have played, I think, you know. And it was really good cover bands, like playing every night. One night it was an all-girl cover band, another night was some other dudes. And we used to go in that bar, and they found out she was very, very big in the Philippines when when we went there to, like, she was like, people were saying, oh, she's like Britney Spears over here was at the time in the States, you know, like a very popular pop artist. And sure enough, we got there and there was big billboards of her on the side of buildings and stuff. And we played we did one arena show that was like 15,000 people. And then we did an outdoor like festival that we closed that was 50,000 people. And then the president of the Philippines came walking out on stage and presented her with some sort of award for something, like right after we played. So it was literally like we did our set, and then we all stood off to the side, and the president came walking out and like presented her with something. So it was like, wow, she's a really big deal here, evidently. Anyways, she was nice, and we had a lot of fun. And so you can imagine if she was that popular, that if she came down to that bar and sat in, that would be a big deal. And she did do that, and it was a big deal. It was like the bar went nuts, and we played like a couple tunes. And she was a really good sport about it because she wasn't used to just jamming in a band in a bar. And we kind of talked her into it. We're like, it'll be fun. Come on, like just come on, get up and sing. And she did it, and she sang great. I mean, if you look on YouTube, look for Mandy Moore Moonshadow, the song by Van Morrison, right? It was around the time that I was playing with her that she did a covers album. So, and that was a single. So you can see a couple performances of us on, I think on Craig Kilborn, and maybe another one at a Sessions at AOL thing of us doing Moonshadow. And you'll hear how good she is. She just nails it. It's like, and there's no fixing going on. That is live. You know, it's a great live performance. And the band was kick-ass. I remember that. The drummer is my old buddy Dorian Crozier, who's like a Nashville studio heavy dude now, and John Fields on bass, who was the producer of the record, and he's much more than a bass player, plays everything. And he went on to produce all kinds of stuff. He did Switchfoot, he did Jonas Brothers, he did like all kinds of big stuff. Yeah, so it was a really solid band. My buddy Paul Trudeau was playing keys. He now plays with Billy Idol. And there was another fellow who I only did that tour with, and I'm spacing on his name now. Sweet guy. His name is Brian. He used to play with Prince, and he was a multi-instrumentalist too. And he passed away about maybe 10 years ago, sadly, because he was a young guy. He was a great guy, really nice guy, I remember. And then I don't think I ever talked to him again after the tour, though. And then I'd heard that he had an illness or something. But anyway, that's my memory of it was a week in the Philippines and then doing some promo and different stuff on TV shows like Kilborn and maybe some other late night. I can't remember. That's that story. What else? I think he means moon dance. No, Moon Shadow is the song. Moon Shadow. Not marvelous for a moon dance. Oh, is it Cat Stevens? You're right. I screwed up my artists. Yeah, Cat Stevens was Moon Shadow, not Van Morrison. Van Morrison was Moon Dance. You got me. I'm getting old, man. I don't remember stuff, and I just can't care. What can I say? Any update on the boutique amplifier fire? I don't know anything else beyond. Actually, I don't know. I'm sorry. Did you see those Blackmore? Is it Caitlin bread or Catlin bread? That's one company I've never done anything for. So no, I didn't actually see those. They make great pedals. I know that, but I've never made a video for them or anything like that. Just for whatever reason. Okay. Simon says birthday greetings from Melbourne. What's up in Melbourne? One of my favorite cities. AC/DC Lane, the Cherry Bar. Good times. For my own birthday, I got the Surrey SL68 to use for my celebration of EVH show in August. That's amazing. What an amp. You're right. You have to hear it in the flesh. You do. And it's an amazing fun amp. So dynamic and so fun. And just good times. So, yeah. Dan's, oh, wow. Look at this. Was it Brian Gallagher? It was Brian Gallagher. That's right. He played in John Field's band, Greasy Meal. That's correct. Brian Gallagher. He was a really funny guy, really easygoing guy, terrific musician that played in Greasy Meal as well as, and he worked with Prince for quite a while, I think. And yeah. So SL68 it is a terrific amp, isn't it, Simon? I'm really glad you got it. Thank you very much for the super chat, and let us know how you get on with it. They're so much fun. So much fun. Biggest gig, and you use a Line 6 pod. That's correct. That's when I took the pod to the Philippines. Yep. Great. Did not care. Used the pod, made good money, had fun. It was cool. You could probably get Craig Kilborn on your show. He's not working these days. That's funny. I remember he wasn't very nice. I said, I don't know why, but I remember, the late night guys, it's like Leno, really nice guy. Really nice guy. Would come in the dressing room all the time, make a point to say hi to everybody. I've talked to him about cars before. I did Leno more than any other show. I think I've been on the Tonight Show when it was Leno maybe 14 or 15 times with different bands over the years. It got to the point where I could walk on the set and say hi to the crew guys and be like the local, the dudes that work the show and be on like a first name basis with the, the monitor guy and the, and everybody was like, you were just here like a couple months ago. I used to do it. I don't know what it was, but I was on that show a lot. And Leno, so he'd always come up and say hello. And yeah, I remember talking to him about he'd always have the greatest cars because, he's got a crazy car collection. So you'd always pull into the NBC lot and then be like, what's he got today? And you'd come around the corner and, because they'd have parking for us right by where he would park. And he'd driving the craziest cars all the time, the coolest stuff. I'm like, wow, like never the same car twice did I ever see there. But he was really, really nice guy. And, I think he came from nothing. So that sort of stands to reason because he worked his way up from being a comedian and I believe living in his car to the, where he had a gajillion cars that he could have lived in, but he had a nice garage for them and I'm sure a very nice house. I was talking to somebody the other day that mentioned they got to go to his garage and see, go on a tour, which is really hard to do and rare. And that doesn't happen for a lot of people, but they got to do it and they were really stoked. Anyways, he was a great guy. I remember, who else? Letterman. He was cool. He was, he was a little, short, but cool. Kilborn. I remember being like, just, he was dismissive or something towards the musicians in the band and not, but, and it's funny, when I think about all the times I was on that show. I remember doing one of Scarlett Johansson, the Tonight Show. And she was, I was like, oh, wow, she's really pretty. I remember walking down the hall behind her one time, just being like, God, she smells amazing. Whatever she was wearing, And then I remember Ben Affleck was on the show that same day, and I remember standing there. I think it must have been with Jewel because I was playing acoustic guitar, and I remember at the end when everybody walks over and they all wave goodbye at the end, So it was like Scarlett Johansson and Ben Affleck standing right beside me. And Ben looked at my guitar. I remember it was my Sheryl Crow, which is like a Gibson country western. And he turned around and looked at my guitar while we were waiting for it to come back from commercial. And he goes, nice axe. I always remember that. And I remember meeting Kurt Russell there as well. And he was like, it's like, oh, it's Nick Bliskin. Come on. I remember taking a picture with him. Anyways, yeah, fun. Late night TV. All right, that's enough. That's enough name dropping for an entire year. Did you meet Paul Schaefer? No, but he was right there standing beside. I remember because I did Letterman twice. I did it with Five for Fighting and I did it with Cornell. So the first time would have been 20 years ago, 2001. And I remember being first of all, I remember being that day was right after 9/11. So it was a month or so after 9/11. So it was a strange, kind of crazy time in New York. And I remember that day was Thanksgiving. And I remember that they had a full Thanksgiving dinner at the Ed Sullivan Theater. So we went in and like at sound check or whatever, it was like full Thanksgiving spread with turkey and stuffing, the whole 9 yards. Like, this is amazing. And the food was great. So I ate like this whole Thanksgiving dinner. And I remember being on the set and thinking like, God, this is where the Beatles stood, when they played on Ed Sullivan. It was like so crazy to me, right? To be there and you can see, like there's those great pictures Linda McCartney took. I thought, oh no, was it Linda McCartney? She wasn't even in the picture yet. Somebody who took the pictures at the maybe it was her, but I don't think she wasn't around yet. Somebody took pictures of the Beatles in the Ed Sullivan Theater anyway, that are and they're from that perspective of from where they stood. And that's what it, of course, that's what it looks like. It's that building, but it's just this iconic, crazy place to stand and play music. So I was really taken aback by that and by the great Thanksgiving dinner. Those are my memories of that day on Letterman, the first time I played it. And then doing it and coming back from commercial and the band playing right beside us with Schaefer over there, Will Lee and Anton Fig and everybody, and that was really cool. That was kind of my first big touring gig. Was Fight for Fighting, where I was doing big late night TV shows now, and the album from the band was selling 25,000 copies a week and doing really well, and they had like a hit that was on really charting and going on bigger tours and stuff like that. So that was 20 years ago, I guess. So have you ever been on SNL? I have never been on SNL. That was one show that I never did, which sucks. I mean, I wish we'd done it with Chris or with one of those other artists that I played with, but it's funny because I've got friends that have been on SNL like 2 times in the last year. And I'm like, how did I never get to do that show? But maybe it'll happen one of these days. Although I don't think it's as good as it used to be. It goes through those phases of, but I always wanted to do it. I remember once Tom Petty was playing on SNL and we were doing the Rosie O'Donnell show, which was filmed in the same studio. And I remember that Petty was supposed to do a sound check. And I was like, no way, because they were like, yeah, you guys can watch if they come in and do it, but it's touch and go. Not sure if he's going to sound check. It was a Thursday, so we filmed the Rosie O'Donnell show, and then we were waiting around, and they're like, no, he's not coming in. They're not going to do it. And I was like, oh shit, because I wanted to see Tom Petty play on the set of SNL, sit there, and that it didn't happen. But anyways, that's as close as I ever got to being on SNL. Was in the same building in the next studio. Yeah. You have a super chat up there. I do. Yeah. Sorry, I'm long-winded. Get back to work, Thorn. Alex B says, what are your thoughts on a looping system switcher if you don't need presets or MIDI? I've heard some people say they aren't necessarily a good idea because of all the extra cabling. Well, if you don't need presets, I don't know why you would do it, I guess. The one advantage would be that when you're plugged into a good switcher and coming out of a good switcher, you're not running through all that stuff. So you're not running through all those pedals and all that extra cabling and stuff. It's all out of the chain when you don't have the loop switched in, right? So that would be there could be a sonic advantage as long as you're using a good switcher. I mean, I feel like my Musicom lab is very transparent. When there's nothing switched in line and I'm plugged into my board and then I'm coming out of my board into the front of my amp, if I just go right to the front of my amp, it's so close to the same that I don't care, if there is any difference. So there's that. But if you've never done it before and you think you don't need presets, you'll probably, if you make a few presets, you'll probably realize like, oh my God, this is so much easier. That's the only thing about switchers and presets and things like that I've found that I just really it's so much simpler to have a switcher and to just hit one button, because the combinations of effects that you use, or you can just do things like if you've got programmable delay or whatever. I mean, maybe I don't want to talk you into making things more complicated than they need to be for you, but even just a simple combination of a couple pedals coming on and off, going from a verse to a chorus or to a solo is so nice to have when you've only got to hit one button, So I would say that, the major advantage is the sonic purity, I guess, or whatever, and then you might get into the presets thing. For me, I can't go back to ever just using a pedal board and tap dancing. I would never want to do that. Do you set your digital interface to line or mic using the Quad Cortex? If you're using the Quad Cortex and going out of it into an interface, you want to set it for line level. Arthur says, what up? Just supporting your late night coffee funds. Thank you, man. Thanks you guys for all the top super duper awesome chats. Thank you. and everybody's questions. I really appreciate it. These are fun. So this has been a fun one. I was a little like, to be honest, I was a little like, sort of just, I was lazy. I was like, I'll take the rest of the day off. But I always look forward to doing this. And 3 minutes into it, I'm like, this is so fun. I'm glad we did this. So even at the later time. I've watched videos on the H3000 and I love it. Are those sounds possible on H9? Yeah, pretty much. I mean, if you're a real, rack mount aficionado, H3000 geek, you're probably going to say, oh no, like, the real one is the way to go. But, to be honest, I don't know, man. I don't know that it matters. I think it's more about the music you're playing anyway. So I think H9 does a really good, at least impersonation or whatever of that algorithm of that sound. I actually listened once to like my H9 compared to the H3000 plugin, and I turned it on and off, and I was like, it sounds like it's basically the same sound. I don't know. Other people are going to say no, but I'm going to say close enough because I'm not as picky as some people. I'm just not. I just care more about the intention behind the notes and than I do as long as the gear is really good, which an H9 is. Yeah. Robert Baker, good to see you here, man. We gotta hang one of these days. One of these days. Have you ever met Jimmy Page? Yes. He was great. He was a total gentleman. I think I've told the story before, so I won't bore those that have heard it. But yeah, he was in our dressing room one day when I came walking in London, just standing there. Jimmy Page. Whoa, hello, what a pleasure, I probably said. And then I said, would you mind if I took a photograph with you? And he looked a little like confused for a minute. I thought, oh no, I've done something wrong. And he was just looking for his coat. He grabbed his coat and put it on. And then he went in the mirror and he fixed his hair and he went, okay. And then I took a picture with him, and I look like an idiot in the picture, and it's ever so slightly blurry, but it's still a picture with Jimmy Page. Anyways, yeah. It was a real thrill, and then he watched our gig, so that was cool. It's at the Astoria in London. Yeah. What delay and reverbs do you use in Logic? That's a good question. Generally speaking, I use the Soundtoys Echo Boy, right? It's called, or Echo Boy Junior. I'll use Echo Boy mainly, and I use either an analog or a digital version of it. But sometimes I'll just use the straight up Logic delays too, the tape delay or the stereo delay. And usually if I use a stereo delay, I'll do like a 250, 500 sort of split, or maybe a 400, 200 sort of split for a solo or something. And I'll dial the high end cut all the way back to like 3 or 4K. And I'll dial the low end cut up to 250 or something like that, and kind of thin out the delay a little bit, add a little, bit. Oh, does it have mod? Maybe not that one. Or maybe it does. I don't remember right now. But it does sometimes. I'll add a little bit. But generally speaking, it's just a matter of cutting the high end back a bit and cutting the low end up. But I like doing those split, the half on one side sort of delay, 250 and a 500. For solos, or sometimes I'll just do tape delay, and so I do the same thing with Soundtoys with Echo Boy. I just find that that plugin has a little more vibe to it than the stock Logic delays, so I really like it. And there's all the different. If you want to futz around with the different, you can do the AM radio one or the FM radio one or the stereo tape or the whatever, and you just switch and it changes the tone of the delay pretty radically, and it's fun. So on my Logic template, I have 2 delays that pull up on every channel that I can just dial a send out to immediately. And one of them is the stereo split digital, and the other one is an analog, more like Memory Man style in mono. And generally speaking, I'll just pick one of those for parts. So Zed says Logic tape delay is actually really good. I kind of think all of Logic's plugins are really good. An interesting thing is like Billy Howardell from Perfect Circle. I can remember going over to his studio one day, and he was all about the Logic plugins and nothing else. He's like, nope, don't want to know about any other plugins. I just only use the Logic stuff. And I was like, wow, really? Like, you're not geeking out on the other, Soundtoys or anything. He's like, no, I just Logic plugins. That's it. It was like he was making a production or like a creative decision to not get too out into the weeds with other stuff. And he was just going to, and I think they sound great. I mean, the EQs, the compressors are great in Logic, really good. I find. Arthur says, I don't think I've ever watched you with any P90 guitars. I've got my Mac Mall. You would have seen it maybe most recently in the delay video that I put out last week for the, I used it a little bit in the Clockwork video for the delay from J Rocket. Put it out last Monday, I think. But it's a brown T that's got 2 P90s. That's my only P90 guitar, which is kind of a blasphemous. I should have more. You know, I'd love to have more, actually. I'd love one of these days a nice Les Paul Jr. or a SG Special or something. I would love. Never been a Les Paul Special guy, but I love SG Specials, and I love Les Paul Juniors, and I love SG Juniors. So. Robert says, let's do a hang on my channel. I would love to, Robert. Let's do that. I'm around. I'm just here working all week on stuff, so back in the studio. So let's do that. Hit me up. You got my number. Ben says that his picture with me is a little blurry. That happens. People with shaky hands, right? Let's see. Your 50-watt Marshall sounds killer. Do you know the value of the bright cap? I don't know the value of the filtering. I would imagine it's probably pretty stock, early 70s, 72. I don't think that's really been changed. The bright cap is 100 PF, which is a JTM 45 value. So not like the super crazy one, but I had Dave futz around with it a little bit, and that's what it's got in it right now. But it does sound really good. It's kind of enough to get, you know, to get that a bit more cut or whatever than without it, but without the crazy. It just makes it more usable if you turn the volume down to like 4, you know. Otherwise, it's just like, I love the sound of the aggressive bright cap in Marshalls, but you have to have the volume up to like 6 minimum or 7. Better at 7, you know. Then that's kind of like then it's got a sweet spot, and that's it, you know. And you sort of paint yourself into that corner. So yeah. So have you seen Angus since the thumbnail pic? No, that thumbnail that's for this video that's the only picture I've ever had with Angus, and maybe actually the last time I saw AC/DC live. Oh no, that's not true. I think I saw them again a couple of years later on the tour that Stevie Young filled in for Malcolm. So around maybe 88 or 89, I saw them again on the next album run through Edmonton. And it wasn't as thrilling because I didn't get to go on stage. But still. Yeah. And that was kind of the tour where nobody knew that was Stevie. Everybody thought it was Malcolm, I think. You know, but Malcolm was kind of he was getting sober and stuff. I think he took a tour off to kind of chill out and stuff. And yeah. Any update on the Boutique Amp distribution fire? I've been kind of checked out the last few days, so I don't have anything for you. I was away for my birthday for a minute. I don't know what you guys are talking about, but that's funny. 38 Not So Special. You should call it 37 Not So Special. I want to do a cover band called 37 Not So Special. What do you play through when you're home and just want to play? I've either got a Helix or a plug-in I can use through like PT100 plug-in or something through my studio monitors and my interface these days, or I got my little NuX practice amp, the little thing sitting on by my TV. The truth is, I don't play much at home. I come here. If I get in this room, I close the door and I get in here and I play, and that's it. And I work in here. And then when I go home, I don't really play guitar, which I sort of feel weird about because I used to play more at home, but I'm here a lot. And when I'm here, I play, you know. And so it's like I've got the separation between work but I do sort of, I did come to realize recently that there was a period when I lived in my old place where I was getting a lot of work done at home, and I was playing a lot at home, and I liked playing at home. And I had these great windows in that place that I used to do videos in, 2-3 years ago. And it was nice to sit there and play with windows, and of course I don't have that in here. So whatever, quality problems, right? It's just, I just don't enjoy maybe the idea of, but maybe I just need to get a better setup at home where I've really got it dialed in and can. For me, it's about like having the guitar on the stand, turning on, like the path of least resistance to playing is a great thing. If you can get a great tone in about 3 seconds. So I've got actually a friend's little next tone, one of those little Boss, like the one under the Katana. I've got one of those here. Maybe I should take it home and just try setting it up under my desk and just plug it in and see if I play more. Put a guitar in a stand ready to go. Anyways, I tend to do all my playing in this room. So when it comes to practice and all that, how are with the compensated nut thing? Do you mean like an what are they called? Evertune or whatever? Nut. I've never messed with one of those. I do have the Buzz Feeten thing on a couple guitars, and that actually works really well. But kind of just don't worry about it really. Sorry. Blue says, how's your days been? It's been great, especially hanging here with you guys tonight. I should probably jet fairly soon. I'll make this one a little shorter than usual. Maybe I'll go till 8:45 or so. And then that's enough for today. And then I'll come back tomorrow and do some work. Yeah. Anybody see Sir's got something this week coming? You ready? Are you excited? New thing. I can't tell you what it is. It might be sitting right beside me right now, but I can't tell you what it is. Look for that on the 1st, Canada Day, June 1st. June 1st. Do you play a Sig Sur at home or a vintage guitar? Actually, you know what I had at home for a while was my Blue Sur that you saw me play in a video this week, the Blue Classic S. I love that thing. It's just a really nice guitar to, like, I don't know, something about simple single coils, just kind of nice, it's cool. My main signature guitar, and I use it like all the time, is the red one that's here. So it kind of lives here, but yeah. Tom Bukovac just finished a mini tour with Ann Wilson. That's cool. I didn't know that. That's neat. Some videos on YouTube sounded amazing. He's a great guitar player. I just hung with him a little bit on Dave's show, Tone Talk. It was the first time I met him, and Dave let me come on for a minute and say hi, and I just wanted to pay my respects and tell him hello. I think that you're great. Ann Wilson, she's still so awesome. So is Nancy. Love them Wilsons. What's your main DAW? Logic. I dabble with Luna too these days, which sounds amazing. It's just a little more. I don't want to say limited because it's great, and I'd love to ideally probably record in Logic and mix in Luna, to be honest. It sounds so good with the tape and the tape sim on every channel, and the analog. Now you got the API, the Vision channel strip on every channel. It's amazing. I mean, just as far as like kind of working like a console and just sounding great. Good stuff. Yeah. Ian says, Pete, just let them all know, but EVH used the DiMarzio Super Distortion for the first 3 albums, primarily at least. It's such an up for debate thing, but I think, yeah, that's what I hear. I mean, at least in the Destroyer, and then you start to realize how many songs the Destroyer was on, and I really think it was either that pickup or a Mighty Mite. Some guy was arguing with me about it, saying, no, it was the Super 70 in that guitar. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I know that's what's in the pictures and stuff, but that doesn't mean that the morning they went to record, he didn't pop a Super Distortion in the guitar, because there's no pictures of the guitar from. We don't have any photos of, like there's not definitive evidence of any of this stuff. So we've got to use our ears. And you heard in the video I did. I mean, it's like, that just sounds like that pickup to me, that at least the Mighty Mite were, Now, I was talking with Al Estrada, who knows his shit and is a great guitar player and plays EVH really well. And he thinks it could have been the lower output Mighty Mite. Still ceramic magnet, about 9K. As opposed to the sort of 14.5K. He thinks so. He goes, from my hands, and when I play, that's what I hear. And he was saying that he just kind of thinks the other one's a little out of control. Not what I hear with it. He was even saying, when you play, it sounds right, but when I play, I don't. He's like, when I play, it sounds more, So we don't know. We just don't know. Nobody knows. The one guy that might know is Rudy Laren, I suppose. And I wish I could actually talk to him. I have talked to him, but not about that. I'd love to know what he thinks about that, or if he'd even tell me. cool to see your mutual admiration with the mighty Tom Bukovac. It's inspiring to see even you share your excitement for great peers. Well, he's awesome, you know, and I love his show that he started, you know, and it was so cool, like in his garage, so awesome, you know, like, and just kind of easygoing and great advice, great instruction, great, you know, it's just a cool guy, and obviously, you know, cool guy to listen to as far as, you know, even when I was doing the show and we were talking about things, he dropped a great little bit of advice / knowledge, which was, I remember he was talking about on a session, when you're in there with pros, you learn a tune, you know, you got whatever you're working through a chart or whatever it is, you know, and then you run it down once, just, okay, let's run through this, and you do it, and somebody might step on somebody's toes the first time, but everybody's listening to everybody else so much that never happens again, and it's an unspoken thing. The next time you hit it and go through, if the bass player played a riff or the guitar player played a riff or whatever, the one that the idea that's the best idea or whatever, you know, best, but it's like generally I find in the studio the good ideas always float to the top, and if people aren't in there with their ego driving them, more with the song in mind and what's the best thing, it's an unspoken thing, and whoever played on each other's toes, if one idea was better, I think he was trying to apply it, that's the one that'll, like, you know, the other person was, you know, leave that hole for the other player to do their thing or whatever, and that stuff goes unsaid, you know, and I loved that. It's like, yeah, everybody's listening really close to what each other's doing, and it's not out of you know, it's about making the song, you know, everybody's working as a team. It's communism. Everybody's working as a team to make that song the best that it could possibly be, right? You know, and that's how they roll, and you know, if somebody doesn't do that, then they kind of don't last in that world. So I thought that was really brilliant, because, you know, you know, I've never been in a Nashville studio session. It's not something I've ever done. You know, I've only played out here on the West Coast, but it's a similar thing for sure. When you play in a room with good players in studio in LA, you know, if in the best sessions where there's no, you know, the most professional, the most, you know, folks that have been around the block and stuff like that, and you're like, you know, when you feel like, oh, I'm lucky to be in the room right now, you know, that's what you notice, is those kinds of things where there's a lot of unspoken cool stuff that goes on. So he dropped that little bit of knowledge there. That was a really cool moment, I thought. Brett's going to bed. Take care, man. Double shift tomorrow. Well, take care, man. Take care. Double shift tomorrow, but it's Friday. Huh? I had to look at the calendar, but it's Sunday. I don't understand. Well, anyway, take care, man. Thanks for being here. What drive pedals do you find gel best with your 335 into a plexi? Man, I mean, like, that amp into a plexi just does its thing on its own. But if I was going to hit it with something, I wouldn't think too hard. I'd probably just get an Archer or something, and I'd set the amp up for a crunch, and then, you know, hit it with the Archer for solos. That's what I use now, you know, Klon style. Or I love that new Scream Honey pedal too. I had lunch with my friend Richard Fortis the other day, and he got a Scream Honey and he put it in his rig. I know that. So he's trying it out with his Guns N' Roses rig. Yep. Arthur says, I don't think it was Super 70s. I don't think so either. I just don't think so. I mean, unless somebody tried to tell me that there's a different Super 70. They're like, no, you got the wrong one. You need the one with the different. And I'm like, I've never heard that there was two different specs of the Super 70. I've always heard Alnico 8 somewhere around 8K. I've never heard there was a hotter one or a different wind or any of that stuff. And it's about a different, I could be wrong. I'm open to somebody showing me, like, but it's just not something that I've, and after the guy said it, I went and looked online and I tried to find, is there another, you know, and I did whatever searches I did to try and track down, and I couldn't find anything about another Super 70. So, yeah. Any Clear Mountain project news? No, not really. I'm going to see him next weekend, actually, but other than that, not really. I've seen Eddie with a white Les Paul. Yeah, he's got that white custom that you see him use, maybe around 80 on tour. Yeah, I wonder when he got that guitar and when he started playing it. Maybe it was kind of a replacement for the Shark. Sometimes I don't know, because I don't think it seems to be around 80 that he was playing that guitar for a minute, and so that would make sense that like maybe he'd retired the Shark and was looking for a fat guitar to play, on stage sometimes. But I don't know. It's a good question. That's a cool looking guitar though. I love the photos of him playing that thing. Would you use a 2-notes Captor or Capture X to capture your amps? I think you mean Captor X, right? You mean in line out into the? I'm interpreting here, but I think you mean line out into a Kemper or into a quad Cortex. Sure, it'll work good for that. Yeah, quite good. I use the reactive load, or you could use a power station to do that stuff. But yeah, that'll work well also. Any plans for more Tim and Pete episodes? I would love to do another show with Tim, at least even a one-off one of these days. I should probably hit him up to do that and see if he's down. But we don't have any plans to do that. But I missed Tim. Actually, I was just thinking about him the other day. And, sucks we don't do that anymore. I'd love to do it. Do you ever come back to Canada to visit? Well, I haven't in quite a while due to the COVID situations and stuff. There's a 14-day quarantine to come back there. I can go because I'm a citizen, but I'd have to quarantine. I know they're kind of hardcore about it. I think that's ending, but I guess we'll see what happens with variants and all that stuff. But I think it's ending sometime soon. But yeah, like even if you're double vaccinated and all that stuff, they've got a 14-day quarantine, and they call you and they come by. And I hear like my aunt's actually going through that right now. She was in the States and she went back and she's like, it sucks to stay home for 2 weeks, and they're on you about it. Not saying they shouldn't do it. Although, come on, like if you have a negative test and you're double vaccinated, I think it's like that to me at that point is overkill. Actually, just an opinion, just another guy's opinion, unqualified, but Oh, Ian says I think you mean July 1st. I probably said June 1st for the release. Yeah, sorry, I meant July 1st. Yeah. Sorry about that. This has been fun. It has been. Ben said it's been fun. I agree. It has been fun. And I should probably go soon because I know it's getting late for everybody, right? 8:41. I'll stay another couple minutes here. Mad respect for your Van Halen deep dive videos. I live here in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Sweetwater. Have you been to previous Sweetwater Gear Fest? Yes, I was at the one 2 years ago, I think. The one that Steve Vai was at. I was there that day. I did a Line 6 clinic. It was fun. And I've been to Sweetwater before to do other things, and it's always fun. I like the Sweetwater folks, and they always treat me well, and it's a hell of an operation they got out there. It's a crazy place, and Gearfest was cool. Moving from a lovely modded, thank you again for the top chat as well there, the super chat. Charlie, moving from a lovely modded Blues Deluxe to a Sir Bella head and cab, what should I expect? Probably going to be better, I would say. I mean, who knows with your mods, maybe not, but a Bella is a wonderful thing, and it's very much like the clean channel of a PT15, which I have sitting right there right now. I was just doing something with it before we went live here, and it's a great clean channel, and if you're a pedal guy, I think you'll really enjoy it. And with the switch, the bright, you can really tune it with your pedals. So depending on what you use for boosts and drives and stuff, you can really dial in a good sound no matter what, So a lot of people asking me about news about the boutique amp thing. I don't have any news. Unfortunately, or fortunately, probably fortunately, I was away for a few days, having a little birthday extravaganza, so I wasn't around. But anyways, are there any guitar workbooks you could recommend for an intermediate player? I was just looking the other day. I was in a little music shop and I saw the Warren Haynes slide guitar book, and I thought, I think I have a video from Warren like playing slide, and I'd love to. I was like, I kind of want to get this book, and then I thought it's got a CD in it, and I don't have a place to play a CD. you know, anymore. I mean, maybe in my DVD player at home, my old DVD player. Other than that, I don't have a CD player, so I was going to look and see if it's online, any kind of downloadable thing. But for an intermediate player, books, maybe you get Rick Beato's book, the Beato book, I believe it's called, or there's some other good ones I've enjoyed over the years. I mean, I remember this Robin Ford book that was so good. Was it called The Blues and Beyond or something? Or probably making that up, but Beyond the Blues, I can't remember, but it was really cool. It had some great kind of like licks and chordal things in it, and that was a really fun one. It's been so long since I've studied using any kind of books. What else? I had a great Albert Lee book years ago that had a cassette. I think that was what it came with. I'm not too up on music books, right? You're making me think back to like 20 years ago when, I don't know. Anyways. Are you a fan of the Allmans? I've never been like a huge Allman Brothers guy. Like, I get it and I like it and stuff, but I'm not more than I do. I guarantee it. You should do a show with Brad Fernquist on Tim and Pete. That's interesting. Couldn't I just interview him by myself too? Brad is like my homie. I mean, first of all, he grew up in Calgary, so he's not too far from where I grew up, and he was very much in the same camp as me, starting in the early 2000s, playing with different bands. And like, I did a tour with a band opening for, I think I was playing with these pop guys, Evan and Jaron, and he was with the band called Fastball. Remember Fastball, the song The Way? You remember that? Yeah, remember that? He was the guitar player on that tour. And then he got the gig in the Goo Goo Dolls. And I just would cross paths with him all the time, touring with different bands and, being on festivals, multi-band radio show things like Christmas shows, for a radio station or whatever. And I'd see that guy everywhere. So I've known Brad Fernquist for 20 years too. But it's funny, you guys are bringing up dudes that I've known for him and Michael Chavez and all the usual suspects that are all getting older now. But yeah, it was funny in LA. There's like a small pool of guys that you'd see it doing everything back 20 years ago. It was like, you could go to an audition or something, or so-and-so's playing with so-and-so. Oh, they got the gig with so-and-so. Now there's other guys. There's a bunch of, other yahoos out there all taking our jobs. But no, for a long time, it was the usual suspects. Myself, Michael Chavez, Yogi, Joel Shearer, Jason Orm, Brad Fernquist, Greg Saran. You see the same dudes over and over and over and over and over and over again on all the similar sort of gigs. Sometimes we traded, but yeah. Let's see here. Johnny R. from Goo Goo Dolls lives 10 minutes away from me here in New Jersey. Yeah, I remember doing touring with those guys. I've told some of those stories recently. I don't want to start repeating myself. Robin Ford, The Blues and Beyond. Great book. Really good book. Really enjoyed that book, actually. If you want to, get a little Robin take, a little bit more sophisticated blues. I mean, really great. Terrific ideas in that book. I stole some licks from that book that I used for a long time. Yeah. How about an in-studio jam during one of your streams? Maybe one of these days. I've been thinking about doing a thing where I start using the Helix. So we'll see. I had never thought about this before, but if you set up a Helix template just right, you can have it so you've got a vocal mic going and, voice to pick up your voice, not to sing or whatever. I guess you could sing, but, and then a guitar channel, and then you can mute with a foot button. You can just turn one of the buttons on the Helix into a mute so that there's not that phasing thing that happens when you play. I was like, oh, of course, if you use the Helix as an audio interface, you could do that and have a button assigned to a mute. And so my friend Matt at Line 6, he's like, yeah, I designed a template for this exact thing. And to, for easy live streaming kind of thing. I thought that was brilliant. And so more on that coming, because I might get that going. That seems like a cool thing to have going. So okay, what are you doing, guys? Some people just chiming in now. 340. We got as many people online as we're online the whole time. It's fun. I could just stay here. I'll stay here till midnight. No, I shouldn't, but I might. Didn't Chavez play with John Mayer? Yes, he did back in the day. Chavez played with John Mayer. He also played. He's played with a lot of people. I can't think of any others right now, but he played with John Mayer and also with Adam Cohen after I did. And wasn't that Fastway? No, that's a different band. I was talking about Fastball. Fastway was the band with Fast Eddie. Okay, now I'm forgetting. Am I messing up these band names? Fastball. Yeah. American rock band that formed in Austin, Texas. They were the band that had the song called The Way. You may remember that song? Man, they're going without ever knowing the way, which is a great song. Anyone can see the road that they walk on is paved in gold. It's always never get home. Never get on, never on. You can see the you want me to keep going and not know the words? I can know, I sort of know like 22% of the words. So I'll just stop that. But Fastway was, from the UK and wasn't that Fast Eddie Clark? Wasn't he in Fastway? I think I used to have a Fastway T-shirt. I should know that. Yeah. What else we got here? See, I have that Warren slide book. It's great. John Schofield said he learned slide from that book. That's cool. Okay, that makes me really want to get it for sure. I love like Warren. Warren obviously played with Derek Trucks, so you got two great slide players, right? And Warren is more like, to me, like the traditional sort of slide player, like a great traditional slide player. And then Derek was that, like, what is he even doing on the? It's like crazy sounding, like he's like a beautiful singer on slide. Not saying he's like better or whatever. It's none of that. Warren's an amazing slide. Warren's an amazing musician. It was just that different style while Warren just plays that terrific traditional slide. You guys know what I'm talking about. And the fact that they both played in the same band, so cool. Frank says, thanks, Pete. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Thanks for doing the super chat. And when you played with Don Henley, did you ever play any songs off Inside Job? Yeah, we did. Everything is different now. Working It, yeah. I wonder if Tim Pierce played it. No, that was probably Frank Symes, I think, that did Working It in the studio. I think. I could be wrong. I mean, but you never know. I mean, they could have had, Tim into play, but I'm pretty sure Frank played the kind of the guitar part that you're talking about on Working It. I'm sure we did other songs off the record. I just can't remember right now. I just remember playing Everything Is Different Now quite a bit. That was like a regular song in the set. Fastway was Fast Eddie Clark. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. What else? Is it time to go? There's a lull. Should I go? They won't make it home, but they really don't care. Exactly. That's a good song. I remember that band, Fastball. They wrote that song. The guy wrote it about an article he read about a couple. It was an old couple that like disappeared just out of the blue, like kind of like just took off in their car and nobody ever heard from them ever again. And I thought, and he got inspired to write a song about it. Like, where did they go? They just decided to pick up and leave and not tell anybody they were going. I just thought that was that's a cool thing to write a song about, Oh, you are a singer. Oh, let me tell you now. You never close your eyes anymore. No, I'll stop. Fastway was from Japan. No, Fastway was from UK, right? Fast Eddie Clark. I don't know who else. Oh, it was Pete Way. That's right. Of course. Pete Way, UFO. Pete Way, of course. You're reminding me now. Cool. Pete Way. Pete, why are you on this late at night? Says Jim. It was my birthday, and so I was away this morning still, and I was driving back. So I took a little trip to get out of town for a minute and just take a few days off. So, yeah. Okay. Well, guys, I think it's time to go. Do you have a favorite Marshall amp? And with that, I'll take another question. Oh, and there's a top chat. There's a couple top chats. Is this one? Yeah. Okay. So I've been on. Oh man, the War on Drugs. I'm glad you brought them up. Actually, I love that band. It makes me fall back in love with playing the guitar after being burned out. That's great, man. Because I get it with that. He's so good. That guy. Have you seen the Premier Guitar War on Drugs rig rundown? It's really, really good. And he's such a pedal geek, and I really like that band too. I don't know much about them or him, but I watched that Premier Guitar. If you guys don't know this band, they're so good. They kind of remind me of it's like Dylan meets Roxy Music or something, and then with like really cool sort of almost like at times Knopfler-esque or something, but then he's really into effects and different. It's its own thing. Why do we always draw comparisons? But it's just great music and really chill, and I love that kind of cruising on two chords, sort of like creating a mood sort of thing that he does so well in that band. So I really like War on Drugs too. It's great. I know exactly what you're talking about. It makes me fall in love with playing the guitar. It's a really great. It's like, oh yeah, that's just cool, great guitar playing, and I like his sound too, and his whole, it's a great thing, great mood. Can you talk about Mammoth for a minute? I love the record. How about that first tune? Who's listened to Wolf's record? Mr. Ed, right? The first tune. Damn, that song smokes. That might be my favorite song on the record. But yeah, I mean, great. I'm excited to see what they do live. Everything we've seen so far is great, right? Going out and doing all the live TV stuff and all that. So more power to Wolf, Definitely. Who's your favorite Strat player, and what pickups do you get to replicate their tone? I like Eric Johnson and Matt Schofield. I mean, I really like the Sir V63s, which used to be the Landau Classic. That's a great pickup. I really like Ron Ellis pickups too, which is actually what I have in that blue Sir. He made me a set, and I put him in that guitar, and people ask me sometimes what's in that guitar. That's what's in there. It's the only Sir I have that's not his pickups. And I love Sir pickups too, but I just wanted to. Ron offered to make me a set, and I thought I'll try them. So, and those are really nice. I think it's just his sort of 50-60 Strat set, he calls them. I think. What else? I'm not like, I haven't tried every Strat pickup under the sun, so it's probably hard to go wrong with Lindy Fralin. I think he seems to do. I believe actually one of the pickups in my Strat, and I don't know which one. I think maybe the bridge is a Lindy Rewind. That's what I was told when I bought it. I just don't remember which one. They all sound great. So, I would look at Lindy's. I would look at V63s from Sir, Ron Ellis. See what you got to see. See what there is to see. Anyways, what are you guys talking about? What is the 80s hard rock band from Japan? Somebody mentioned Loudness, probably. Akira. Yeah. Patrick says, you're cool. I don't know, am I? I don't feel that cool these days. I feel like I used to be cool. Am I still cool? Have I still got it? You ever have that? Have I still got it? I still got what it takes? I don't know for what. I have verbal diarrhea right now. I don't even know what I'm saying, but thank you. I appreciate that, Patrick. Michael says, happy birthday. Thank you. Hey, Pete, what is your favorite? I did that one already. Sorry. Oh, because you asked twice. That's why I saw it. I see. That's okay. Do you have a favorite Marshall amp that you have ever played? Eddie Van Halen's. Just because. I don't even know if it was the best sounding one, but come on. It's like, holy shit, I'm playing that amp and it's on 10. So that was pretty cool. Yeah, that's without even thinking about it. That was the one that it's gotta be. It's gotta be. Oh boy! Oh boy! Oh boy! What else we got here? Let's see. Why do fuzz pedals generate so much noise in amps? I haven't found that necessarily in particular. I mean, some of them have gates, so like the Fuzz Factory, you can get that and it'll gate. Or the Bumble Buzz, that's gated as hell, So you could get one of those. No, I don't know. It really depends. Sometimes is the germanium ones, the fuzz faces, they can be like really temperamental. And do you ever see the episode of that pedal show where they like heat them up with the heat gun? I love that. Listening to the way the sound changes when you blow heat on them because of the germanium, transistors are a drag. Please explain jazz. Just put your fingers where they're not supposed to go. That's the quickest explanation. Oh my God, you played that amp. I did. I got to play it twice, actually. And yeah, it was a real thrill. And it sounded great both times. So Zachary says he's got Fralin Blue specials for the fellow that was asking about single coils earlier. Yeah, I mean, I think, like I say, I've only got a rewind, and I don't actually even know which one it is, but all I know is that my Strat sounds great. And I think they've told me it was the bridge, and that the neck and the middle were stock, and the bridge pickup sounds phenomenal on the guitar. So whatever, it's all good. It's all good. Yeah. What did you even play when you plugged into Eddie's Marshall? He wasn't sitting there. It was at Friedman's shop. So Dave, yeah, it wasn't when he was there. Dave was he restored it. So this guy had in the Netherlands had a tech, Van Wiedelen, I believe. He'd done all Teflon wire in the amp. He'd rewired it with Teflon wire at one point, maybe in the 90s or so. And he wanted it back to stock. So they got a plexi that was like a few serial numbers off. I mean, I think might have been one of Matt Brooks or something. And they used it as a donor for wire, basically. They pulled all the wire out of it. And Dave just went through and, kind of tried to put it back to exactly the way that it probably originally was. I mean, there wasn't any changes to the board other than the stuff we know about, like the fat cap and stuff, but he'd for whatever reason, he decided that maybe Ed had found it noisy or something. I don't know, but he'd gone through and rewired the whole amp with Teflon wire. So Dave went back through and restored it all back to original Marshall wire that it actually took out of another plexi, another 100-watt plexi. That happened. And so when that was being done, I got to play through it one day. But like I actually before that and after when it was done, and it sounded exactly the same to me. It didn't sound any different. I don't think. I mean, I don't know, but it was actually in two different buildings because Dave actually moved during that time, and so it was at two different locations. So right there, it goes out the window, right? And even being a month apart, how the hell would you even remember? Yeah. So there you have it. There you have it. Who owns that Van Halen amp? I assume Wolf, at this point. Yeah. Thanks so much for the time and effort on the EVH pickup video. What were your thoughts in the room on the overwound A2s versus ceramic? But overall, my favorite for me and for like an overall thing would be the overwound. Not necessarily overwound, like not the 14Ks. My favorite were the 9K or 9.2K or whatever. Those ones were kind of my favorite, I think, for just a great sounding pickup that could cover a lot of bases, which is kind of what I think he probably used for a while too. At least that Seymour Duncan rewind, the 78 style, But anyway, that style of pickup I really like. The 14K ones are really cool too, but they sound a little too hot and dark to me for the early stuff, but still great and easier to play. Actually, they've got a great easy to play thing. So like the pickup that's the Wolfgang pickup is great. That's in the and if you just don't think about it and you're like, oh well, then that's fine, or if you use a custom, fine. Like if you really start getting anal and you're like, oh, I want to get into all this, the nuts and bolts of it or whatever. For me, overall, probably the 9K ones are my favorite. Ceramics are great, but only kind of first, second album. The tones from the Shark guitar or whatever, like that. You really got me is really the song. That was always the elusive song to me, and I really just think it's a combination of the JBL with the Destroyer guitar, and it had to be that hot ceramic pickup because it just sounds like it. It's just there's that more distorted sound where it sounds like there's an extra little layer of distortion on the sound, when you use that pickup. I just don't see any way around that. I mean, it's that's the sound. It just sounds like it. I don't know. Am I crazy? I'm losing people. We're down to 300, so I'm going to go here in a sec. But I've been threatening to go for 45 minutes. Can you explain the 4-cable method with an NS2? It said Boss noise suppressor in the loop on a JCM 900. I have SD1 in front and DD20 in the loop. SD1 in the front and DD20 in the loop. Chorus settings. Does an NS2 do like a 4-cable thing so you can run wait here. I don't actually know this, but does an NS2 do, I see. You want to do 4-cable method. Input, output, and a send and return. Yeah, I mean, I guess you can do that with it. I've never tried that, but I guess you can put it in the loop of the amp as well as in front of the amp and probably work pretty good, I guess. Yeah, sorry, you probably know, if you've got it, you probably know more than I do, but that's really interesting. I just don't know how that would, what if, how do you set the threshold then? Because it's like, is it how do they interact when one's kind of more maybe a line level or hot level coming in to the, the send and return going to the loop? I don't know if you can do that, dude. I wonder if maybe the send and return is like an effect loop in front of the amp. I see what you're saying, like that, maybe it could be used that way, but I just don't know that you could do that with it. You can do that, I believe, with the decimator. I think it's designed to do that. I'm pretty sure, but I'm sorry, it's a little bit out of my a little bit of my pay grade. I'd have to do a little bit of research. I could ask Friedman actually, and see what he knows about this. I'm trying to remember to do that this week. I think the decimator is the one that goes in front and also in the loop, and is maybe the the best known for that sort of thing. How you doing, buddy? Says Metal Mike. What's up, man? How you doing? What's the best inexpensive guitar? I don't know if there is a best, but I will say there's plenty of good inexpensive guitars out there. I'm impressed with lower price Fenders all the time. Even those those, what are they called? 50s Vibe or whatever they're called, Squires. I mean, those guitars are pretty cool for the money. The stuff from PRS I've seen, say like the Tremonti, that's the SE model or whatever. I've played a couple of those. They seem like good guitars, for the money. Just good guitars overall. Tim Pierce did a video recently on, you just see like a blue top with a natural back, and you can see it. I was going to watch it, and then I didn't. But it's a PRS, and I assume it's an SE. And he's like, quality guitar over $100,000. So I was going to go watch that, but I just haven't checked it out yet. But anyways, there's lots of good stuff out there for low dough these days. Okay. Question: Humbucker covered 54 Les Paul, is it? Oh, converted 54 Les Paul needs a fingerboard repair. Who would I suggest in LA? I think Norik Renson would probably be a guy that I would trust with that. Renson, RENSON, Renson Guitar Repair in Studio City. With a vintage Les Paul, he's done a lot of work over the years, and I just, I'm careful who I take my vintage stuff to. Many years ago, I mean, going back over 20 years, I took a 54 Les Paul to him. So my 54 Les Paul went to him for a little repair, and he does a good job, So he's got, I mean, at this point, the dude must have 40 years of guitar repair experience at least. So, Yeah. All right. I'm gonna split you guys. It's time to go. But I hope you guys have a great week. Some fun stuff coming this week. Like I say, there's something fun coming from Sir. So watch out for that on July 1st. And it's truly amazing. I think, at least in the class that it's in, I think maybe the best I've ever heard. So get ready for that. I just threw down the gauntlet. I did. I've got to make a bunch of videos coming up for all kinds of stuff. So there's all kinds of stuff coming, but that'll be coming this week for sure. That'll maybe the first, is that Thursday? The first might be the first thing I get out this week, but I might try and get something else done by Wednesday or so. I don't know. We'll see what happens. And thanks y'all for the super chats and for the happy birthday wishes and stuff. I do appreciate it. And thanks for being here. And I hope you all just live long and prosper. See you soon. Thanks, Ben Coombs. See ya.